Wait a second, there's only... I'd like to call the study session for October 24th to order. And City Clerk, can you give us the roll call, please?
With the exception of Council Members Rosansky, Ridgway, and Daigle, the other 4 council members are present.
Councilmember Daigle indicated that she would not be able to attend the meeting today, and I have not heard from Councilmembers Rosansky and Ridgway, so I'm assuming they will be here shortly. The first item is clarification of items on the consent calendar, and I want to make sure that I remind you that items S21, S22, and S23 have been added to this consent calendar, items 1 through 18. So if you have questions, you need to make sure that you look at those items too. Dick, I'll give you a chance to look at those. Councilmember Curry, do you have any items that you have questions on?
No questions, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Selledge?
No questions.
All right, Dick, it's your turn. Do you have any questions on items 1 through 18, 21, 22, and 23? 21, what's your question?
Omar, are you going to explain that a little bit?
I will explain it if you want me to explain it now? Or
I've read what's there, but are you going to say anything publicly or not? Or would you...
not unless it's pulled off of the agenda, but if it's pulled off of the agenda, I'll be glad to address any questions or review
But I
it.
think you just as well not. Right?
I'm good with pulling it off.
Well, I'm okay with that. That's what I'd be happy to.
Well, do you have any specific concerns or questions that you feel that Homer needs to ask or answer for you right now?
It's just a policy decision on how we're organizing, and I thought maybe that would be okay, but on the other hand, I'm not interested in pointing the fingers.
No, I don't think there's any reason to point any fingers. I tried to cover in the staff report a little bit of what was being envisioned, and I'll be glad to add to that between now and then.
Okay.
That might be worthwhile, if you could just do that.
I'll talk to you about it
Okay.
between the meetings.
Good, thank you. Mr. Ridgway, did you have anything on items 1 through 18, 21, 22, or 23?
I didn't, but we can start the meeting now.
No, we started it without you and made all kinds of excuses why you were late, but thank you, I appreciate that. The next item on our agenda is item 2. I have no questions on the consent calendar. Item 2 is the renewal of our insurance broker of record and a presentation. Barbara, are you going to handle that?
Yes, good afternoon.
Barbara, if I can, though, let me
Okay.
give an introductory remark. I don't think there's anything unusual about this. We've certainly done it before. We've gone out for qualifications, but since we have some new council members, I thought it would be a good time to give just a little overview of what we're doing here, what is involved, make sure that they have the opportunity to meet Mark, and give you an opportunity to address any questions outside of the council meeting.
And this is an item 9 on the agenda, which we'll be acting on in the consent calendar unless it's removed later on. So,
Okay,
you're on.
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, it is item 9 on the council agenda. It is renewal of our contract for our broker of record for our property and casualty insurance with Brown & Brown. They've actually been doing this for about 18 years for the city of Newport Beach, so they're very familiar with Newport Beach and provide a very valuable service. We're very happy with their services. We've been with their current contract now for 3 years, and this is a 3-year renewal contract. Lauren Farley, our risk manager, is going to talk to you a little bit about the cost, and then Mark is going to talk to you. Mark Zahorian, who is actually the person we work with from Brown & Brown, who is very familiar with the city, is going to talk to you a little bit about what you can expect in our future renewals and a little bit about the insurance market as it is. So with that, I'll turn the time over to Lauren.
Thank you very much.
Mayor and members of the council, as Barbara indicated, Mark has been our broker, our broker of record from the RFP process that we did in 2003. At that time, we sent out proposals to, I believe, it was 8 or 10 brokerage firms. We got around 5 or 6 responses back, and then we interviewed 3 of those. They were the unanimous broker of record choice at the time from both the Council Finance Committee, City Council, and the Selection Committee. They do provide us with excellent service, and I can't really stress that enough. They do services for us that no other brokerage house would do. They provide certificate of insurance review for us and insurance contract review for us. This is such an invaluable service because it saves us so much time in staff time, both at Public Works, General Services, Utilities, and Recreation, where we do a lot of our contract business and our work. We went, at that time, we switched from a commission-based fee structure to a flat fee structure, and over this past 3-year period, as the council report indicates, we've saved almost over $278,000 by making that switch. It was certainly something that was coming along the horizon if you read the papers and noticed a lot of the activity out of the state of New York with the Attorney General's office. They went after Marsh and a couple other brokerage firms for overcompensating themselves with commission. Our decision at the time to go for a flat fee-based structure was really quite strategic and has saved us those funds. As we go forward, they're requesting an increase, a 10% increase over their average amount, which was about $98,000. There were a couple of the coverages that weren't on the March 1 renewal that we had to extend, and because they were commission-based previously, they had to earn that commission on that extension of the policy. That was the workers' compensation got extended 6 months, and then the pollution liability got extended 3 months. That chart is on page 2 of the council report to show how those fees got paid out through these last 3 years. Overall, still, like I said, we saved almost $278,000 by switching to the flat fee-based structure as opposed to commission. And at the time of the broker of record selection in the RFP process, the highest flat fee rate was $150,000. Their proposed increase to $109,000 is still almost 37% less than what that highest quote was at that time. So they are still a good deal. They're the best fit for us. They really do an excellent job. We really can't say enough about what Mark will do for us time and time again. All we ever have to do is pick up the phone and ask him. He's actually done additional work for us that really goes beyond what his broker requirements are. So if you have any questions of me.
About how many claims do they handle a year?
They don't handle the claims.
How many actions or
How many?
what do they do for us in the way of actually earning that 90?
Well, they
9,000.
procure insurance for us, so they have contacts in the insurance markets. They know our operation inside and out. So they come through when we go to renewal, and Mark will explain this in his presentation to you, but they go through and they review our operations. They look at the types of activities that were involved in our operations, any change from year to year. On the certificate side of things, they help the Public Works Department extensively with all of the contracts under the CIP budget for all those contracts that are ongoing, making sure that the insurance is intact, it's correct, it's per the contract. They do all of that work that staff doesn't have to do. I don't have to do that work. My staff doesn't have to do that work. And in essence, the Public Works staff doesn't have to do that work. So in addition to procuring insurance through the markets and finding us the best coverage for the best price consistently, year in and year out, they provide this additional service of certificates of insurance. They'll do loss control. They'll come out with loss control folks from the carriers and walk the streets with us. They'll provide that input from that standpoint of, well, you know, maybe we ought to consider this and we ought to consider that. So they really do provide us with a full service.
I was going to say, Lauren, you might ask Lauren to give you an example of the over and above work that they do in procuring insurance for us for the unusual situations that come up over the years when we might need insurance, like the Centennial.
That's a very good example.
Oh,
How-
why
how
don't you
quick-
tell us about
how
that?
quick- how
You
quickly
can do
we
the
forget.
centennial moment today.
Yes, the centennial. Oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, you thought you were past those. Yes, we were very involved in the centennial celebration from a behind-the-scenes standpoint, as we always are, from procuring a special event policy. We typically get our special event coverage through another broker because they have a specialty in that. It's a very small type of insurance kind of market and so forth. And Driver Alliant, now known as just Alliant, really is the place where most public agencies get their special event coverage. They denied us coverage on our final centennial event 3 times. We went back to them 3 times every time the event kind of reshaped itself. So we got Mark involved probably in July, I think it was, and started saying, well, you know, we may have trouble with this coverage. Can you help us? He went out to the markets. He got the same answer that Alliant was giving us, and in essence came up with coverage for us where nobody else could provide us coverage. So in the event we had an incident at the final centennial celebration, we had extra coverage for that big event that we didn't have to go against our operating policy. And Mark, what was the deductible? I can't remember off the top of my head. The deductible was $10,000. Our operating policy has a self-insured retention of $500,000. So we saved that money if indeed there is an event or an incident that occurred from the event. I haven't heard of anything. I think everything went very, very well. I was very pleased. And but he just hammered away at those markets and called in a few markers, I think, possibly. But we ended up paying, I think it was $17,000 for that policy.
Good.
Money well spent.
Is it Mark's turn?
And I'll lead in with that in closing. Mark's going to just kind of briefly remind you of Brown & Brown and the size of the brokerage house. And again, the marketing renewal process we go through, we really go through a very extensive process in reviewing the application, our operations, making sure everything is intact and pristine for the underwriters. You need to make sure that they're happy. And he's going to then tell you what's going to happen with the upcoming market conditions. So we are headed for some difficult time with the catastrophic property market, and he's going to explain why.
Thank you, Lauren. Honorable Mayor, members of the council, we really do appreciate the opportunity to be your broker. As a reminder, we're Brown & Brown. We're the 7th largest brokerage in the U.S. and the 8th largest in the world. We have approximately 133 offices in 33 states. We typically start marketing an account 90 days to 120 days before expiration of the renewal. In your case, we're starting November 1. We have actually started a portion of that earlier, about 2 months ago, the catastrophic property market that I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. The market conditions for 2007, what I anticipate is on the excess general liability, I'm expecting stable pricing. We're not expecting any surprises. As far as excess workers' comp, we're expecting flat to possibly as much as a 10% decrease. And again, what we do is a full marketing is even if we feel that the incumbent carriers are going to offer us the best possible pricing 60, 90 days in advance, you never know what's going to come in the last 30 days, especially when you're talking about close to the end of the first quarter. So to protect leaving any money on the table, we go to all the markets every year. And to leverage the incumbent markets and also to make sure there are not any new players that are offering an unbelievable pricing deal. Right now, though, I do not anticipate anything happening on the excess liability. I really anticipate that being flat. The master property policy, excluding peers and excluding earthquake and flood, again, we're expecting a flat to a slight decrease in premium. The DIC market, that is your earthquake and flood. That is earthquake and flood on everything but the piers, and then we have a separate policy for the piers, including flood. That's where we're going to have some pain. And the pain is anticipating as much as 100+% increase in premium, a reduction in the limits by about 5 to 10%, and an increase in the deductible. Now, I would like to spend the rest of the time talking about why that's taken place and what the last 3 years was as far as the property market. After 9/11, the property market had increases of 10 to 20%. The city having a 15% increase for that period of time. The market changed in mid-2003. We were expecting reductions of 5 to 10%. That's basically because the insurance industry has short memories. They felt they needed the premiums. Once there were a few more markets opening the doors, they wanted to reduce again, and we were able to save the city at that point 10%. In 2004, the city had a 10% reduction, and in 2005, we were requesting and were able to maintain decreases in the 5 to 10% range, with the city receiving a 5% decrease. By the early fourth quarter of 2005, about 2 months after Katrina and Wilma, we knew we were going to get increases, but we really didn't know by how much. After January of 2006, the treaty renewal guidelines became more restrictive, capacity was reduced, and 10 to 20% increases were the norm. That's where we basically saw it coming and went to the market in November and December, got some commitments, and we were able to get less than a 10% increase on that renewal. During the first quarter of 2006, the Southeast, with the wind issues, were facing serious wind capacity, and they had concerns about what the California market was going to look like. And we were expecting at that point in time 75 to 80% increases, but then all of a sudden July 1st came along, we had treaty renewals and saw increases as much as 100 to 125%. So with that, what does my crystal ball say? I would expect right now to have increases of greater than 100%. It's really hard to say by how much until after January 1 treaties. However, one of the things that we're going to look at to make sure that all the options are open to the city is we're going to look at different levels of deductibles. We're going to also look at different attachment points, which would primarily mean the city will be self-insuring a larger percentage so that they can keep the coverage in place for a catastrophic event.
When you say 100%, that's only for the earthquake and piers?
Earthquake and flood for not just the piers, but for the entire city. We have earthquake insurance on all the property that we insure.
Okay, so that would mean 100% for all buildings, anything else, roads, bridges?
Well, roads we don't insure.
Okay.
But the answer is yes, and that's one of the things that we're going to look at too, as to give options of at what level do we attach the earthquake insurance, do we insure everything, what do we not insure, and really give the city a complete list of options to help reduce some of that cost.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nichols?
I had a question. What kind of insurance or levels do you think that should be on our, for instance, our bus service that we're running?
For liability?
Yeah, liability.
Are you talking about just the Oasis?
No, I'm talking about the orange.
We're not running that. That's a private contract.
But that is, we're setting the liability insurance rate on that, are we not? I just
We asked them to, no, that's not anything that we have anything to do with.
I thought that liability insurance was something we approved on that.
No. That's,
What would you think it should be?
No, that's really-
$1 million, and that seems awful low to me. It's not relevant.
that's not relevant to what he is
I think
doing.
what Councilman Nichols is talking about is when the city enters into certain contracts with different entities and we require them to provide liability insurance policies, we have a certain amount that we require them to provide. Maybe you could expand
Yeah, you
on that a
might
little bit.
want to, could you let the council know what the recommended insurance levels are? Is it still at $1 million for, if we're going to contract for someone and ask for indemnification for a private business to do work for the city?
Like the
or
OC Cruiser.
contract? Yeah, but we don't have a contract with them, but if we were, what, are the insurance levels still at $1 million, or is that?
One of the things, that's one of the things that we actually have under review and are looking at, but typically what happens is you have various levels of contracts. So it's not recommended that every discipline has the same minimum level of requirement. For example, if you have an architect firm who is just coming in to rearrange some doors at the Oasis, you're not going to require $5 million in professional liability limits. In the case of a transit operation, what we would do is look at the overall exposure and where that line operated, and then make our recommendation based on that. I would say a bare bones minimum requirement should be in the $2 million range per occurrence. But again,
What would your overall be? Would that be just 2 mil, or would you have an overall of 20 mil or something like that?
you know, Mr. Nichols, it's very difficult for me to make a recommendation without knowing the entire size and scope of an operation. I would say the starting point is 2 million. If it goes over railroad tracks and it goes over railroad tracks at peak hours of operation, I would require higher limits. It really depends on the overall size and scope of the operation. Starting point is $2 million.
Okay, thank you, and we're lucky that we don't have any railroads in town.
Yeah.
But that's an example.
Yeah, right.
Just
But my question is would you have an overall limit the same as an individual on the insurance like that?
Well, typically what happens is you have a primary policy, which is your starting point, and that is typically $1 million per occurrence with a $2 million aggregate. And then you build from there by obtaining excess policies. And those excess policies could be anywhere from $3 million up to $100+ million. So there's really no maximum limit that you can obtain.
Well, I didn't mean that, but as a professional contractor, I'm required typically to carry $1 million at the single lane overall, just for going on sites of people's property, you know, and I seem to think
Dick-
that us carrying
Dick-
passengers would have a lot higher limit. That's
Okay, I think he's answered your question, and
all that. It's professional for us, and this is just,
Thank-
that's why I'm asking.
thank you.
I just have a quick follow-up. Are we asking $2 million now? Because I don't think we are.
We, most of our contracts, we start with $1 million, but we do make an assessment on risk, and if there are issues with risk, we go to 2, and we have gone as high as $5 million, depending upon the contract. But our basic contract requirement is still at $1 million.
Well, personally, I think we should review that because it's been $1 million for
It
as
has.
long as I've been an attorney, and that's 20 years. And I know litigation costs and damages and things like that have gone up significantly in the last 20 years. So I would,
We try
recommend
to,
it.
as he said, tailor it sometimes to the contract itself.
I understand, but even the gentleman mentioned that bare bones, we'd want $2 million. So.
For in the bus situation.
In the bus
Well,
situation.
I'm saying in most situations, there's liability. These days, you go to the hospital and it's $1 million for a major injury. So.
You just missed your hospital industry, but
Actually, you clarified the error and said a door hanger over at Oasis would not require
Okay.
It would if it fell on some old person after it was built, believe me.
Let's
It'd be a lot
proceed
more than
with
a
your
million.
presentation, please.
Well, that's, and as far as going back to,
We were talking about earthquakes and floods
right,
and
July
that going up
1st,
over 100%.
and then the 100%, that's basically my close in that we are going to look at as many options as possible. The one thing to remember, though, is I stated earlier, the insurance industry had short memories when they increased the premiums and then reduced them 2 or 3 years later. I don't think that is going to be the case in the future with catastrophic property. What we're going to be faced with is continuing increases over the next 2 to 3 years. I will be very surprised if we have decreases within the next 5 years. The insurance companies got hammered very hard with the wind damages that took place with Katrina and Wilma, and the same thing could happen with the earthquake, and that's what they're concerned with.
Okay. Councilman?
Mark, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
You used, at the beginning, in January, you said something about some treaty. What was that?
Oh, I'm sorry. When I talk about treaties, insurance companies purchase insurance, and they're known as reinsurance treaties. So they don't take the 100% of the risk. They actually go out and purchase insurance. And those treaties cost more money than the previous year, and we're expecting increases on those treaties. What had happened was with Katrina, that when Katrina hit, and then all of a sudden insurance companies had increased their reserves, they were already at their aggregate level of their treaties. Insurance companies had to come out and buy new reinsurance, and that they were in the red for a considerable amount of money going into the next renewal. So they had to then recoup, and that's where the increases really took place. And we anticipate that really continuing because the market has shown that there are fewer carriers. The incumbents are the key to your marketing plan. 99% of the time, you're going to find your incumbents offer the best pricing. You're not going to find new carriers that are going to offer lower pricing on earthquake. For the most
Who
part.
are those reinsurers? Are they not some of the same companies that we're dealing with?
That's an excellent question. Typically not. They're like Swiss Re. They're various companies that might be a subsidiary of an insurance company, but their primary goal or responsibility is to sell reinsurance.
Any other questions from the council?
Mark, just to make sure the council understands what you're saying in terms of if our premium for catastrophic goes up 100%, we're talking about going from the neighborhood of 450,000 to 900,000 roughly.
That is correct.
Okay.
But again, if I can comment, our goal, though, is to, when you get to that premium level and you're paying $450,000 more in insurance, what is that primary $5 million layer costing you? And it might be in the city's best interest to then insure that primary $5 million layer plus their normal deductible percentage and to help reduce the cost. Because we're not looking at this only for 1 year. I'm going to have to assume that we're going to have it for at least 3 and possibly 5 years, if not longer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara and Lauren and Mark, for your presentation. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this? Seeing none, we, I believe, have a presentation on the junior lifeguard program.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Tim Riley. I'm the fire chief. Prior to this year's junior lifeguard season, we had,
For one more month.
for 1 more month.
And I'm a city councilman for 1 more month.
Tim, they know how to keep us humble, don't they?
That's right. That's right. Prior to this year's, actually, at the conclusion of last year's junior lifeguard program, we did some assessments and came back to you with a report on our inability to accommodate all those people who were interested in being involved in the junior lifeguard program. So we made quite a presentation, and in October of last year, we recommended that we split our junior lifeguard program into 2 4-week sessions instead of the long-standing 1 8-week session. And we told you that we would give it a go and see how it went this year. And after it was all over, we'd take a serious assessment of whether it was a good idea, a bad idea, whether it worked or didn't work. We would really do a good job polling the residents that were involved and the kids that were involved, to really get feedback from them, talk to our instructors to get a good feel for what they felt about the program, and come back to you and give you a report card about whether we should or shouldn't go forward. And so today, what I've asked is our lifeguard program coordinator, Battalion Chief Renee Boyer is here. She's put together a PowerPoint to pretty much talk a little bit about what led us up to that decision, what happened this year, what the results of the survey were, what the feedback was from the instructors, and to give you a feeling about where we should go from today. So Renee's going to give a presentation. When she's all done with her presentation, she'll still be here. I'll be here to provide additional comments or feedback to any of your questions, and we will give you a recommendation at the end of kind of what we think is the best interest of the city in proceeding forward with the junior lifeguard program in the future. So that being said, I'll turn the podium over to Renee.
Thank you very much, Chief. It's a pleasure to be back here again, and we have our PowerPoint presentation to review the City of Newport Beach Junior Lifeguard Program. I'd just like to
Excuse me
remind
just a
you
minute.
that our junior lifeguard, yes.
Did we make any effort at all to let members of the program know that we were having the presentation today?
We notified them in their family survey letter that we
Good.
would be presenting this fall, yes.
Thank you.
I'd just like to remind you that our junior lifeguard program was established in 1984 with 50 participants. The junior lifeguard program basics. It's a summer program. We have a morning class from 9 till 12, or an afternoon class from 1 until 4. We meet on the south side of the Balboa Pier, right by Tower A. The participants are ages 9 through 15. They're required to pass a swimming test prior to participation. They get to learn all about ocean safety in the summertime, and all of our instructors are Newport Beach Ocean Lifeguards. We're frequently asked why our junior lifeguard program is so popular and so successful. I'd like to stress it's because our #1 program priority is safety. Our #2 program priority is safety, and our #3 program priority is safety. It's also a quality program where we have clear, consistent, and achievable expectations for the participants. All of our instructors have the highest character and are excellent role models for our participants. We also have tremendous support from our parents, as most of you well know. Our instructors are really what make our junior lifeguard program. This is a brief history of our junior lifeguard program. We started in 1984. From 1984 to 1987, the program grew from 50 participants to 1,000 participants. The first 5 years of the program, we conducted 2 5-week junior lifeguard programs. In 1988, we started conducting 1 8-week program. In 1987, we exceeded 1,000 participants. From 1998 to 2005, the program expanded to 1,200 participants. In 2005, as you most know, we were unable to accommodate about 300 disappointed participants. So in April, we came here and presented a junior lifeguard program review at a city council study session. And then in October of 2005, we presented a staff report to you at a city council session. This report outlined program components and various expansion ideas. From there, we proceeded with our 2 4-week junior lifeguard program plan for 2006. This plan enabled us to accommodate up to 2,000 junior lifeguard participants and focus on safety. Then we focus on 2006, last summer. We conducted the program and had 1,427 participants. Of those participants, 1,276 were Newport Beach residents. 151 were non-residents. 12 of those non-residents were city employees' children. At the conclusion of the 2006 program, we conducted a family and instructor survey. And we're here to present the results of that survey. Following the conclusion of each junior lifeguard session this summer, for the first time ever, and I will tell you at your suggestion, we conducted a survey. So at the end of each session, every participant received this letter along with their survey and their participant certification and signed by their instructor. Here's a copy of the letter that they all received. This is the first page of a 2-page survey they received along with their certification. The first page really outlines how long they participated in the program, what session they were in, and if they were residents. It also had a series of questions rated from scale 1 to 5, 1 being very satisfied and 5 being very unsatisfied, on the quality of instruction, the curriculum, the safety, the equipment, the uniforms, and the facilities we provided the children. The second page of the survey concentrated on if participants and their families preferred the 2 4-week session with 2,000 participants or the 1 8-week session with 1,200 participants. It also had a lot of room for additional comments on ideas or something we hadn't thought about or program suggestions. It also went on to ask by rank if participants preferred the 8-week program, how would they most prefer to limit the program? By swim time, by fees, by age requirements, by resident requirements, or by returning junior guard priority. It also gave participants a choice of if they wanted to remain anonymous or tell us who they were. We received 669 family surveys as of last Friday. I still got 10 more today, so they're not included, but they seem to be very similar in their comments. Of those, 402 families preferred the 8-week session with a cap of 1,200 students. So that was 60% of our participants. 213 preferred the 2 4-week junior lifeguard program that we had in 2006, and that was 32% of the surveys returned. 54 participants decided that we should just decide what's best for them. So that was about 8% of the people. Then I'd like to outline that if we do go back to the 8-week program, how would our participants prefer to limit participation? The following ranking came out of the survey. Number 1, continue the practice of giving Newport Beach residents priority registration. Number 2, give priority to returning junior guards. Number 3, make the swim times tests faster. Number 4, increase the fees. Or number 5, have alternate age requirements. Also, the overall program survey results were people were very satisfied with a score of 1 or 2 on instruction, curriculum, safety, and equipment in 2006. And they were somewhat satisfied to unsatisfied, surprisingly enough, with our facility and uniforms. I would just like to personally take time to thank everyone that put a lot of time and effort and comments into those surveys. And I'd like everybody to know that I not only read them once, I read them twice. Personally, really took them to heart to get a feel of what people really wanted and really had to say. So just thank you for everybody participating, because I know for a lot of you it was a very emotional summer as change was very difficult. So we really appreciated your time and efforts, and I just want to make sure you know how much we appreciate that. There were a couple things that I wanted to take time to clarify from our junior lifeguard survey. Comments. We received numerous well-planned comments about the possibility of 2, 5, or 6-week junior lifeguard programs. I just need to clarify there's only an 8-week window of opportunity for the junior lifeguard summer program. And that's due to the traditional school year, instructors returning to college or university, or we have about 10 junior lifeguard instructors that are professional teachers, and they need to report back to school for full-time planning. Also, all of our junior lifeguard instructors are trained ocean lifeguards, and those of them that don't go back to school work in towers, patrol units, or rescue boats at the conclusion of junior guards. The second point I'd like to clarify, we received a few comments that other local cities should receive priority registration over our own. So I just want to clarify to all of our participants that Newport Coast, Newport Heights, and Corona Del Mar, they're residents of the city of Newport Beach. So that was very interesting to me, but it was enough of a theme that I had to write that, and they're part of our city. I wanted to take time to share some of the sample family survey quotes about the 2 4-week session. And I tried to select comments that were kind of a theme throughout reading these. Our experience this summer was fantastic. The 4-week program allows for other activities. This was our first year. The program was the best. Loved the shorter program. Felt like we still had summer to enjoy. Great program, just the right amount of time. My kids really enjoyed the program. We were sure impressed by the instructors. I was a little bummed about the 4 weeks. Maybe 5 or 6 weeks would be better. Really enjoyed the smaller crowds. Excellent safety, quality, and curriculum, but very expensive. I felt the price was quite high. Shorter was good. Maybe 5 weeks would be better. So the running theme on the 4 weeks was some people liked it, although they'd like 5 or 6 weeks better. It wasn't quite perfect. And also many comments about the price. As we found out, it was just almost the same price of running a 4-week program as an 8-week program with the same uniforms and the same activities.
What was your fee?
$425. Next, I'll go to some of the sample quotes from families that preferred the 8-week program. I felt the 4-week program was JG class on steroids. I got a personal laugh out of that one reading it at my desk. We really enjoyed having Fridays off. Going to 5 days a week was too much. The instruction remained excellent, but everything was too rushed. I continued to be amazed by the program, but 4 weeks was a bad idea. Please go back. Current swim times are too easy. The instruction was superior. The city has allowed for development and needs to compensate for expansion. Great instructors, however, curriculum was too condensed to fully benefit each JG. Too much to learn. We need 8 weeks. Please, please, please. Kids need a chance to bond with their instructors, which will give them greater confidence. We know you tried your best, but it is simply impossible to provide a quality JG program in 4 weeks. All of the experiences are milestones. All experiences and milestones were crammed together, set faster qualifying times. So that was the theme of the 8-week program comments. And almost all 670 people took time to write very conscientious comments. These are sample junior lifeguard family survey quotes from the group that wants us to decide. We are privileged to have this program in our city. Thank you. Great program, wonderful opportunity. We trust that you decide what is best for our future. Well, then I thought, perfect, what's best? I need to ask the instructors because they really make the program. This year we had 32 junior lifeguard instructors. The instructor survey was based on the 3 points best for 4 weeks and 3 points best for 8 weeks, 3 disadvantages of 4 weeks and 3 disadvantages of 8 weeks. For the 4-week program, advantages: help more children become ocean aware, fewer instructors, more camaraderie, and higher quality. Everyone was welcome to participate. Large events were much more manageable. Manageable ferry crossings, bike rides, and parking lots. Plan family vacations outside of the JG program with fewer missed days. Some disadvantages of the 2 4-week program. Too little time to get to know the kids and build strong relationships. Did not bond as much as in the past. Not enough time to have the traditional 8-week JG experience. All big events doubled. No downtime for fun events. Not enough time to improve and build self-confidence. Instructors were exhausted with the 5-day plan. Instructor survey results for advantages of the 8-week program. More time to concentrate on JGs and how they are best learning the information. The instructor experience parallels the JG's experience bonding together. Big events seemed more special when too close together or duplicated. The personal relationships are what make our program unique from any other. The JGs get more ocean proofing with more quality instruction time and additional field trips. I want the program to be 8 weeks for my children. And it was interesting that someone was 16 wrote that one. Disadvantages of the 8-week program: limited enrollment, more JG participants miss class for other activities or vacation, more instruction with less lifeguarding experience, administration is very hectic with all students there at one time, impact on the area's infrastructure is problematic, the ferries, the bikes, and the crossing. The instructors really took a hard look what was best for the participants. The results of their survey are quite telling. 2 of the 32 instructors preferred the 2 4-week program. They really felt it was more important overall to include everybody. 30 instructors preferred the 8-week program, and they summed it up basically more important to have the 8-week quality over the quantity of participants. And truly, I think the instructors missed bonding with the junior lifeguards. So now we look at our long-term plan for the continued success of our junior lifeguard program. And we must keep in focus that our number 1 priority has to be safety, whatever we decide. The number 2 priority, safety. The number 3 priority, safety. Program quality, and you know I've added, we have to offer what participants want. I look at our junior lifeguard program options for our future. This would be for 2007. We can continue to conduct 2 4-week junior lifeguard programs with a morning group and an afternoon group at the Balboa Pier. This would have space for 2,000 participants. This is really a long-term plan to accommodate future junior lifeguards. We maintain the safety of the program with the 2 4-week sessions, and we maintain our quality of instruction. We could go back and conduct an 8-week junior lifeguard program with a morning and an afternoon class at the Balboa Pier with space for 1,200 participants. This maintains the safety of our program, maintains the quality and the integrity of the traditional junior guard experience. I will point out we will need additional staff takes about 10 additional junior guard instructors. We will need additional equipment, and there will be maximum participation limitations. But it is clearly what the community wants. Our junior lifeguard plan for 2007 would be to go back to the traditional 8-week junior lifeguard program with 1,200 participants. We would continue to give priority registration to Newport Beach residents. We would suggest to limit the swim test from 7 attempts to 5 attempts. And we suggest to make the swim times faster in each division by 5 seconds. The D's, the 9-year-olds, would be 1 minute and 55 seconds. C's, 10 and 11-year-olds, 1 minute and 45 seconds. B's, 12 and 13-year-olds, 140. A's, 14 and 15-year-olds, at 135. And then I would suggest after 2 years to evaluate the times and the limitations and see where we stand. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm here with questions.
I have a question. I'm somewhat concerned that if we go back to the 1,200, that's really 800 kids that don't get ocean safety training. I'm concerned that we eliminate some of those that might most need it, and those are the ones that can't quite make the time limits.
Right.
Are we trying to encourage, is this program set up to encourage us to create a pool of lifeguards, or is this program set up to encourage ocean safety amongst our youth?
It's to encourage ocean safety amongst our youth.
Okay, so that what do you feel then is the benefit of making faster times just to eliminate those people that don't have quite as many abilities as the, I don't know, super swimmers?
Right.
We truly looked hard at this, and my instructors made this recommendation a year ago, so I spent a lot of time with what we call our lower groups, because realistically the junior guards are divided in classes by their time standard. So I, as the coordinator, put some extra effort in really going out and participating along with some of those groups. And in many situations, they're not quite ready for the ocean experience. If there's any kind of surf or any kind of waves, these would be the groups at all levels that are maybe by the end of summer doing a buoy swim, not a pier swim. So to us, they're valuable participants in their program, and I think they get a lot out of it, although another year of practicing swimming in a pool or another environment without surf and improving their swim times, we think their junior lifeguard experience would be enhanced in the future.
Just out of curiosity, what is your distribution in number of students between, in each one of the A, B, C, and Ds? Is it pretty much equal?
The Ds and the A's are about equal with 150 participants, and the C's and the B's are about equal with the rest. So definitely the majority of participants are B's and C's.
Okay, rather than limiting, I'm just asking a question now, should we consider perhaps eliminating the D group as potentially being too young to allow for, would that help us in getting closer to the 1,200 as opposed to 2,000? That would eliminate roughly 150, though, so that still doesn't help us that much.
And the D's, the 9-year-olds, I'd say being in the ocean safety business for 30-plus years are our target audience. They're the ones that we want to start out ocean safe at 9 years old. And interestingly enough, that was one of the comments we received on a few surveys. Junior lifeguard Ds in the city of Newport Beach are not just an additional group. Our United States Surf Life-Saving Guidelines for our junior lifeguard program consider Cs 9, 10, and 11-year-olds. About 10 years ago, we realized a 9-year-old and 11-year-old had very different maturity levels. So we created the 9-year-old group and called them Ds, even though they're really part of the C division. So many of the larger programs have gone to Ds, although, again, I really think they're our target to be ocean safe right away.
Okay. Other members?
Can you explain the difference in maybe the instruction at the different age levels?
Well, it's a progression that the Ds are beginning. So they're getting very, very basic ocean safety, very basic first aid. Their physical requirement would be a D buoy swim that isn't quite a bit closer to shore. The Cs, for example, would have a little bit more first aid, a little bit more ocean lifeguard experience, that they might actually get to go up in a tower and see what a tower guard would observe. They're swimming to the C buoy and then possibly around the pier. The B division would be, by the end of summer, actually doing simulated rescues. So if they were in a situation with a buddy and they needed to help somebody out, they would have an idea of how to do that. For their physical events, they would be doing a 2-mile run and a pier swim. And then when they're up to the A division, we actually have the A's divided into captains and safety aides. So some of our A's are actually helping out some of the younger children in some of the events. They'd never be put in a lifeguard situation, but they'd be helping out. And our captains in our A division, we've kind of earmarked to be our future lifeguards. And it's not the purpose, but we do identify those junior lifeguards as people that would be possible future lifeguards.
In the time that you have the 4-week session, are we not able to teach the ocean safety aspect of the course?
I believe
satisfactorily?
we were able to teach the ocean safety educational aspect. Yes, I believe that. I learned from our community that they not only want the ocean education aspect, they enjoyed the bonding with the instructors and the character of our instructors and their ability to role model the children in their groups. I have learned maybe even exceeds the ocean lifeguard experience when they're with teachers and educators and people going to Stanford or community college, that they have somebody that they're really looking up to, that they want to be just like when they grow up.
So
I feel that that was the part that was lacking in the 4-week program.
So it's gone from more of a camp experience to more of an educational experience?
I believe they still got the ocean education experience, but the bonding with the instructor and the character of their instructors and their growth as an individual and their self-confidence and their ability to just really feel good about what they're doing and accomplishing in that 8-week period of time was not as good in the 4-week program.
And you received about 600 responses, that's what the number
Almost
was?
700.
Almost 700, and out of 1,500 participants?
1,427 participants.
Okay, so about half responded. And of the half that didn't respond, is that any sense of?
I don't have a sense.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you.
Anybody else? Councilman Curry?
Renee and Chief, first of all, congratulations on, I think, a very comprehensive survey and analysis of the program. I think you really did a good job at looking at both the pros and the cons and comparing the two approaches. I will tell you that the conclusions that you reached are certainly consistent with the feedback that I received from participants from my district whose children participated in it, who are very, very appreciative of the course, but as you say, Renee, found the physical challenges in that compressed time to be a challenge for some of the younger students, and also felt that they were both exhausted and pushed perhaps a little bit too far. So I think you've done an excellent job at evaluating the program, and I would, of course, support the recommendation for where the program needs to go for next year. And let me say, too, that I don't think anyone should ever read into this sort of a point at the gates about our participants from our neighboring cities. We certainly welcome them, but we need to have a program that provides a quality experience, sort of first for our own students, but above all, as you say, maintains the safety and the quality of the experience during the course of the summer. And I congratulate you for how that has historically been the case in Newport Beach.
Thank
Mr. Mayor.
you.
Mr. Ridgway, I think it.
Well, Rini, actually, Chief and Rini, we've had a number of conversations about changing the facility down there at the pier. And as you know, when I came into office, I was not supportive, and I'm clearly supportive of creating a permanent facility down there as long as it's low-rise, and, but that's for future capital budgets. I have the luxury, or perhaps distinction, of having a child who has been in the program the last 2 years, the 8-week and the 4-week. I also have the luxury, or perhaps only for a couple more weeks, of being 8 years up here and trying to address my constituents' needs versus my opinion. And I've gone in and out of, is my opinion more important than my constituents, that type of thing. I do not want to ignore, and I do agree with Mr. Curry, I don't want to ignore the constituents' survey. You have 50%. That's a very, 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 very good response to a survey. It's extraordinary, quite candidly. And I wouldn't expect the trend to change at all. And I live on the peninsula, as you know, and certainly my conversations with everybody, and, we have a lot of kids at our house all the time, is consistent with the survey. Actually, and even that 8-9% is probably more consistent with the recommendation. And 60% is very high in a survey, by the way. That's a very, very high recommendation. I don't want to get into the analysis of the survey, but I can't ignore it, number one. And number two, I'm going to give you my observation. Anecdotal, it will be as if I'm answering the survey, and we didn't answer it, by the way, so we're one of the people who didn't. And we were in the second session. My take on the experience for my daughter, who turned 12 during that period of time, it was not the same experience as the 8-week program. The 4 days on and Friday off was a luxury that we could take advantage of as a family. The bonding with both her instructor and her students, who she's in school with, but remember, they meet new friends, was clearly not the same. Her excitement at the Monster Mile was somewhat muted this year. She enjoyed the program immensely, and she's a very articulate child, and we should bring her in. But, and again, had we noticed this for a specific time and date, this place would be packed, as you know. So when you say you noticed everybody, you just let them know it was going to be in the fall. That doesn't cut it, really. I mean, let's be honest. People are going to be watching this session, and they're going to be talking among themselves. I am supportive of going to the 8-week program. I think the safety and quality of that program, and as it's taken me, I get this presentation every year. Some of these guys are newer, and the nuances, I've gone through the experience of them trying to qualify and not qualifying, and having to go to classes before the qualifying even starts. And there's a number of instructors out there at the pools. And, we're going there at nighttime in what I would say fairly severe weather conditions at times, and these kids are really committed to wanting to qualify. Now, some of them aren't. I mean, there are two sets of kids. But everything I heard was, and these are kind of what I guess you would call the hardcore, the people who are really involved in the culture and the experience of the program. 8 weeks. I just have to say, And using my at least 8 years up here, I don't know that I will be in on the final vote, but I clearly support maintaining going back to the 8-week program. Yes, there will be kids who probably won't be able to participate. There are numerous other summer programs, as you know, in our whatever that little booklet that Community Services put out. After 8 years, you'd think I'd remember. The Navigator. There are numerous Navigator, yeah. There are numerous programs in there for summertime if people really want to just warehouse their kids. The ones that go to this program are not warehousing, the majority. There are a few, but the majority are very involved in the quality of the experience. And I think that's very important for us to maintain. And I do urge you, since I won't be around, to look at that capital improvement project down there. That trailer is the pits, by the way, having attended numerous barbecues down there and experiencing walking in there, picking up my daughter. Enough is enough. But anyhow, that's my 2 cents worth. I think this survey was spot on.
Mr. Selich.
Yeah. I've had 2 kids go through the program, the 8-week program, and I supported going to the program we did last summer as an experiment, although I was skeptical of it. So, the results of your survey don't surprise me, because I was skeptical of what would happen to the quality of the program. So I support going back to the 8-week program. I don't have a problem with that. I do have one question, though, because I've noticed that these programs seem to be quite popular in other cities. And how do these standards stack up compared to what some of the other cities are requiring? Are we? We're right in the middle. Right in the middle? Okay. Okay, thank you.
One thing I did want to state is that, this is our plan for 2007. We came here to pretty much tell you that we looked at all the options. This is what we plan on going forward with. We weren't planning on coming back to the council and saying, okay, do we need to have a public vote on this, because I think it's pretty obvious. So unless you're asking for us to do that or give us some direction to the contrary, I think this is probably the most appropriate thing. It is unfortunate that...
Okay, Tim, I don't know. The new councilmen need to have the benefit of having 500 emails that all say the same thing.
That may be true.
Mr. Ridgway, you can cease and desist from things like that.
I have to say that 1,200 is the maximum amount we can do safely. It also really taxes our ability to have quality instructors and still provide a strong cadre of ocean lifeguards on the beach during the summertime to do our primary job, which is watch the water. So even expanding it beyond that in an 8-week session would be very, very difficult. We are looking at some other options, perhaps even, shaving off the A group and taking them down to another location, and maybe mixing them in with our cadet group and try to maybe do something like that. But additionally, that is, again, going to increase our reliance on additional instructors, so we're not sure how that's going to work. So we'll still keep looking for ways to, what we think is, fine-tune the program, improve the program, make it available to as many people as possible. But I think that the experiment showed that the quality of the program did suffer, not for lack of trying. And really the final comment I wanted to make today was, we, including me, asked our junior lifeguard staff, headed up by Renee, to do an extraordinary job to conduct 2 4-week sessions, do it to the best of their abilities, and try to make a quality experience. And I believe they gave it their all. I'm very, very thankful and appreciative for the hard work they did, for the quality of the program that they did put on. And I don't think anybody suffered for it, but it certainly wasn't where they felt it should be, and I think we're returning back there. That's my comments.
Any other council? Mr. Nichols?
I had 3 kids go through it, and it worked out very well before an 8-week program, and they came out pretty high level, I think. It was a high-level program. And so I hate to see a change from that level any. I think it attracted the best, and that's what you want to have. And kept them interested.
Approximately what percentage do you have that return each year? Like, that would start in year one and go all the way through?
It's about a 50% return rate as far as
Year
who
to
starts
year.
at-
To year.
I can't tell you who starts at 9 and stays with it the whole time.
Okay. I guess the only concern that I have is that I look at being able to have the potential of 1,200 ocean-safe kids versus 2,000 ocean-safe kids, and that concerns me significantly.
Well, one of the things we might take a look at, Mayor Webb, is looking for an alternate program that doesn't require ocean lifeguard staffing in an ocean environment. And maybe we can come up with a junior program where we would take people to, one of the bay beaches and create a smaller program, teach the basics and fundamentals of ocean safety without being in that environment. Because quite literally, we're really squeezed by capacity. I agree that the facility is not great. Of course, I don't know if you saw my email today back to a couple of your constituents about the ugly trailer still being there. Really, to do a quality ocean training program in the ocean, I think we need to go back to 8 weeks, and we're squeezed by that 1,200 number. But we are going to look at other options of creating some kind of an alternate program that's not the same, but will introduce ocean safety at a younger age. And so maybe we'll start reaching that same goal in a different environment.
And you're going to be coming back to
I'm
help with this
not.
program, huh?
You're out of here, November 20 or 30th. Okay. I'd also like to echo what the mayor has to say, because it has been a popular program. Even at the 1,200, we're going to be turning away Newport Beach residents based upon the registration. And I don't like turning away other city residents, and I especially don't want to have to turn away our own residents from a very popular program. I mean, it's kind of like, what kids in and what kids out, and there's a certain fairness to that. And I would encourage you, if we are going to move back to the 8-week program, that we do explore opportunities for either splitting the program from one beach to another, or, as you said, peel off the younger ones and give them a different experience. Maybe they don't need 4 years of junior guards. Obviously, they're not all going 4 years. I would be surprised if they start at 9 and finish at 14. But, and so there may be some opportunity to get the longer program for maybe some of the older kids, get the ocean training that they need, but still, I think part of the goal of our city is to be open to other cities and other people who want to come here and enjoy the fabulous beaches that we have and have their kids be ocean safe, so that hopefully it'll take the burden off the lifeguards that we do have sitting in the towers that are not going to have to worry about 9-year-old and 10-year-old kids that are not ocean safe. And so there's an impact that way that wasn't really talked about here. And those kids from Costa Mesa or Irvine or Huntington Beach or wherever they're coming from are coming to our beach anyway. And I'd rather that they be ocean safe and not have to rely on the lifeguard to rescue them.
Well said, sir. Well said. And just to reiterate, our priority registration program really is just a 2-week window where Newport Beach people can register before anybody else. And then after that 2 weeks is over, doesn't matter if they're a Newport Beach resident or from Hyannisport, they're getting treated the same. So it's just a priority window of registration. And we will have some people that possibly will get in who are not Newport Beach people. We will, depending upon how it goes, go back to a waiting list for people that drop out. And we will continue to explore other options. One of the things we're looking at right now, for example, is in our junior firefighter program. That's a program where we actually go into schools and we teach kids fire safety in the home and stop, drop, and roll, and how to have a home exit plan, where we're looking at massaging that to make it more of a junior safety plan, where they're going to learn a little bit about disaster preparedness as kids and learn a little bit about ocean safety. So we're already reaching out to do that in different environments. But I do believe there's a way to develop a smaller subset of this program to early people in a safer environment that won't tax our resources, and we will be looking at that.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, may I ask Rini a quick question?
I suppose so.
Were you surprised at the feedback as far as uniforms? There seems to be...
I was shocked.
What's the issue there?
Our T-shirt quality was not up to par, and the logoing on this year's uniform was not appreciated by the boys. Yes. But I will say that the company was awesome to deal with. I think that we have just set a standard that is so high for our uniforms. It's hard to top every single year. So there are going to be some years that are your favorite and some years that aren't. And I started the bid process this week already for uniforms next year.
Did you hear many complaints about the uniform during the time, or this survey just gave them the opportunity to say, gee, you know.
This is the first time we've ever done a survey, and it was very interesting to me. It was an educational experience, so yes, I was surprised.
Okay, anybody else from the council?
And I'd just like to thank all of you for your continued support, and the chief, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brittany. You've done a great job with the program, and I think both of my kids participated in it. They were back in the 84, 85, 86 timeframe, though.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody from the public that wishes to comment on this? Seeing none, are there anybody from the public that wish to comment in general on anything not on our agenda? Seeing none, we're adjourned to closed session.